What's going on, everybody? If you have not already, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and hit the notification bell to get notified of when I drop some more great content. So, we're going to dive right into this challenge Ride or Dies episode 10 recap. This is another good episode. The challenge is back. The challenge is back. Some people have been complaining about different things about this season of the challenge, but I'm like, man, some people just watch things to complain about them instead of to enjoy them. That's not me. Some people have complained about the partners, about some people not really being ride or dies, and them having been put together just for the theme of the show. Obviously, that's going to happen on any show. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be a perfect system. You're not always going to get the best teams that you want. Things happen. Some people got COVID. They had to do replacement teams. It is what it is with that stuff. What I like is the fact that they dropped the secret agent theme. They have some fresh concepts. They have some good looking games. They have some great rookies this season. Horacio is like the season MVP so far to me. They brought back some of our old favorites. We have some of our old drama, the hookups. It's not boring. Like, to me, Challenge USA was just about competition only. It was nothing else. And previous seasons were way too dramatic and not enough fun. So, you know what I'm saying? You just got to enjoy the show. The fact that they found a way to kind of reinvent it in some ways after all these years on the air. But that's just my little mini rant about that. Diving right in to this episode beginning. The episode began with all the teams showing the new teams that had been selected by Fessy and Mariah. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever been part of like team captains on an elementary school playground where one person gets to select one team and the other person gets to select the other team. Unless there's some kind of twist that we don't know about, Fessy's team is stacked. And Mariah's team is not. So Fessy is giving them all a pep talk. He's standing there with his oven mitts on. He's like, oh, you guys are great. You guys are the best. I'm impressed with all you people here, blah, blah, blah. And then there's Devin on the other side making jokes. We're not that good, but we are smart. It's kind of like, I don't know, those underdog stories where one team is obviously, very obviously expected to lose. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, with how badly the teams are mismatched in terms of physically, which you do need physical to win a challenge final, I'm thinking to myself, maybe the losing team gets to select somebody from the winning team to go into an elimination after they lose, because I'm just assuming that Team Mariah is going to lose, whatever the daily is going to be. But we kind of later find out that that's not even the case, so I'm just not sure about this team thing. We've seen the team thing work different ways in different seasons, so I'm going to get into that a little bit later. So Johnny made a joke. I didn't really write down the exact thing that he said, but he said something to the effect of watching Fessy bask in the team he selected is like watching him look at himself when he walks past the mirror. That's not an exact quote, but he was basically saying Fessy is so happy with who he selected. He's as happy as he is when he looks at himself, was the gist of the joke, which I thought was pretty funny because Johnny's kind of the same way, honestly. Those two are 6 of one, half a dozen of another in terms of certain personality traits. It's just that Johnny Bananas owns his more than Fessy owns his, for sure. So they show a scene with Devin trying to negotiate with Jordan. They're not really showing too much of how Jordan is responding to this, but something that they talked about was Devin was explaining like Tori is not really against you. It's just that she wanted to be with you and she feels hurt because of the whole Nerys thing. And he was like, well, I think it's kind of unfair for her to feel hurt due to her history on TV over the last year and a half, and alluding to her hookups with Fessy, with Jordan's doppelganger. I don't know if there's anyone else. Those are the two that I can think of off the top of my head. But she was definitely on the show for both the purposes of winning and finding a guy to snuggle up with, which I guess was the point that he was getting at. That said, I don't remember exactly what I said today, but I will admit to you guys that via conversations and thinking about it, I think I did say this already. Yes, what Jordan did was messy. Can you say that it was wrong? On some levels, yes, you could definitely say it was wrong. Not hooking up with Nurys. There's nothing wrong with him doing that, but just the fact that he was hooking up with Tori first. That's the only thing. The fact that he hooked up with Tori, I don't even really care about the stuff about I love you and whatever, all that stuff. And I want to see you after. Like, that doesn't really mean too much to me unless he said, I want to rekindle my relationship with you and get back together with you. If that was said, that's one thing. But to say, I love you, he said, I'm always going to love Tori. Now, if he said, I want to see you after the show, that also doesn't mean anything unless he declared, like, I'm trying to get back in a relationship with you part. But in terms of the part about him getting physical with her before doing so with Nurys, that's where it gets sloppy. That's where it gets messy. And that's where I can agree with the people who are so mad and calling him scum and all this stuff. But it's just not a position. If I was Tori, it's not a position that I would put myself in the first place. But that said, I do understand her gripe and why she feels really upset about that. And we're going to learn, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. So it doesn't really show the conclusion of the conversation between Devin and Jordan, but it does show that Devin is trying to pitch to Jordan, let's work together. Foreshadowing, as always. Jordan says that he's not going to cut off his thing with Nurys. He said it makes him feel good, makes him feel happy or whatever. He's still going to keep doing it. It is what it is. So in some ways, people are going to consider him a better guy for his relationships with Nia on All Stars and his relationship with Anissa when they were partners on this season. And just overall, aside from this situation, he's less of a jackass than he was, previous seasons that he was on. But they're also looking at him as a bad guy because of this Tori situation. So it's a mixed bag with Jordan. Jordan is still going to be Jordan, y'all. I said this last episode. Jordan is still going to be Jordan no matter what. Tori continues to say that she feels like the Nurys relationship is out of spite towards her and towards what she's done. Now, I'm not necessarily going to say that he connected with her out of spite. I felt like on All Stars, honestly, that the Nia and Jordan hookup was not necessarily just a random thing where they had urges on the show. I literally feel like this is obviously just a guess because they're never going to confirm this. But I feel like they already talked about that possibility before they came on the show. And they already knew that they were going to do that on the show. That's what I thought about that. In terms of the Nurys part, I don't think that he went in with the same intention because he already got his rocks off. He already got his rocks off in All Stars. So I don't think he was like, I'm going to go on this slanging mission to keep hurting Tori. I feel like he didn't think that they were going to end up in bed in terms of him and Tori. I think that was spontaneous. And then I don't think that he thought ahead of time, I am going to hook up with Nurys. I think that maybe he did say to himself, I'm open to whatever happens on the show, but I don't really think that he went in with the intent to spite her. Now, after they had done whatever they had done, him and Tori, I mean, that had to be in his mind that if I do this, this is going to hurt her. That's the part where I do feel some of the spite may have come in. If he had not hooked up with her, Tori, at all, and then just got with Nurys, I would be more in the Jordan side where I would say, no, you're reading too much into this. This is definitely just a spontaneous thing that happened, and he likes her. That's what I would have said. But the fact that he got with Tori first is where I'm like, yeah, I think at least some parts of it, there were some kind of spite involved, to be honest with y'all. So yeah, he said that he's not going to cut it off. He said, I'm going to look out for me, and that's it. So then we get to the daily. It has like an Antonio Banderas compilation and a Puss in Boots thing. It talks about the Puss in Boots movie, which I want to see. There's the pink team, which is Fessy's team, and the yellow team, which is Mariah's team. Mariah's team is severely outmatched. When we get into these platform wrestling challenges, definitely it's not really too much strategy involved, because we even saw Jordan just get knocked off of this by Chauncey. So it's like, even you can overcome a size and strength discrepancy to an extent, but as we saw in this challenge, size went out, I think 95% of the time. The bigger, stronger people were able to throw the smaller people off of the platform for the most part. So it went as expected. Fessy's team won easily. Very easily. Nany got hurt. Thankfully, it wasn't badly. She just went into the back of the medic van, and she ended up coming back, and she was okay. But they made it look really dramatic. It was probably a hard fall, and it definitely hurt, I'm sure. So the interrogation room, this is interesting. It kind of reminded me of one of the Agent seasons where they all kind of sit around, where the whole team sits around to make a decision. But this was like the whole team was sitting up there. The entire team was sitting up there as part of the, I guess it's called the tribunal, or I don't know what it's called. The interrogation room. I think they just call it the interrogation room. So the interrogation room for Fessy's team is all there, and they're talking out who they want to throw in. They're deciding whether they want to make a big move, which would be really to throw in Jordan. Jordan is like the top dog on that team in terms of the guys, in terms of everyone. Everyone always wants Jordan out on any season he's on, not because of his personality at this point, but just because they're like, when it comes to a final, obviously he's in prime condition to smoke the field in one of the finals. So we don't want to see him there. So I'm thinking to myself, they should probably throw Jordan in, that or Devin. That would probably be the best strategy, right? And with all those savvy vets, they're going to throw either Jordan or Devin in there, right? Because worst case scenario is Horacio and Kenny. Because what does that do for any of them? Kenny's probably going to go home if that happens. And he wasn't a threat for them to begin with. Even Johnny said that. Let's see what happens from here. Okay. So surprisingly, when Kenny gets in there, he actually requests to go in. He was like, hey guys, he made some joke about how he's a strong competitor, and he had Fessy shaking in his Puss in Boots. Everyone laughed. I got to stop for a second and say this about Kenny. Yes, I agree. Very, very nice guy. Very nice guy. One of the least interesting people that I have ever seen on the challenge, to be honest with you. I'm sure that he's a great guy in real life, probably somebody that I would like to be friends with in real life. But in terms of watching him on TV, I feel like this episode featured a lot of Kenny, and it was not interesting. Casey is more interesting than Kenny, to be honest with y'all. I forgot this little quote that I had here where Fessy said about Casey. Casey is my real ride or die. Meaning like, yeah, I'm cool with Mariah, but she was never my ride or die. It gave me vibes of when CT was with Big T, and he was really cool with Big T, and then as soon as he had a chance to jump over to Cam, he was like, yeah, this is what I really wanted. Yeah. That's kind of what Fessy reminds me of. Like, I would have stuck it out with you if you were on my team. But now that you're not on my team, I don't have to pretend anymore. Casey's my ride or die. Yeah. So, anyways, I was getting to Kenny. I sidetracked a little bit. Kenny decided to volunteer to go up against Horacio. And that was a surprise to me because at the end of the day, he was on the bottom rung in terms of who they were going to put in. Hey, Van Hoot. He was on the bottom rung in terms of who they were going to put in because they were thinking of Jordan or Devin. Now, there was a part of this selection of Jordan or Devin where Tori was just like, I think we should throw Jordan in. And that's where I say, hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn. Hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn. So she was like, well, if he was in the other seat and it was me down there, like he wouldn't spare me. So he's not Team Tori type thing. So everybody was like, okay. Everybody kind of understood this was relationship drama spilling over. I believe everyone understood that. So when they got Horacio, he said he's not scared. He said he's not scared of whoever they throw him in against. If they throw him in, like he's been there, I think 3 times already at that point. He's like, just do whatever you guys want to do. Horacio is the man. That's all I can say about him. He's the man when it comes to challenges, limbs, all of that. So I think that they all wanted Horacio to end up going against Jordan because it's like, okay, it's hard to take out Jordan in an limb, and Horacio is the rookie of the year, the MVP of the season. Hopefully, this is our best shot to get Jordan out of there. But for me, the best thing for you to do would be to pick Jordan to go in, and then hope that Jordan goes in against either Horacio or Devin. I guess Horacio at the end of the day, so that Horacio can potentially take out Jordan. But on the other hand, Jordan, Horacio, if he beats somebody else, Horacio and Jordan are both still there. So now you'll have Horacio, Jordan, and Devin, which are 3 extremely strong guys. And what we've learned about finals specifically is sometimes having more people is a disadvantage to you because all of the people that you have on your team have to carry their weight. So we'll see what happens. It might be a disadvantage to Fessy's team in the final when we get to the final, depending on what it is. We don't know. When you said Kenny, I thought you almost said my name. The relationship drama gets people exhausted as compared. It does. And I know that while some of those people are friends, like Anissa, for an example, Anissa is obviously friends with both Jordan and Tori. And it's like, but I am here to win money. So I'm not really trying to do couples therapy. I will continue to talk to you and try to make you feel better. But at the end of the day, I don't want to be here for this specific thing. You too, IJ. Thank you. So we're almost towards the end of this episode. Oh, when Jordan got into the deliberation room, Tori says in that moment, if I was in here and you were there, would you have my back? Hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn. Because she used a game moment when all these eyes were on this man for a game decision and a game deliberation to ask him what amounts to a personal question. Not personal like relationship personal, but a question that was not really strategy so much. It was just like, I want to put you on blast in front of my team and embarrass you and somewhat like return the favor of you embarrassing me for cuddling up with Nurys and making out with her and whatever else they might have done. And I was like, man. And then I was wondering what Jordan was going to say, because Jordan is a prideful man. And of course, Jordan kind of was like, Jordan has evolved somewhat. Because if this was back in the day, Jordan would have had like a turbo type of response. I don't want to be here. F you. Do whatever you want to do and then just walk out. But he was just basically trying to say, I can't believe you would ask me this question. Like, you know that I'm a loyal guy. You know that I don't go back on my word. I do what I say that I'm going to do. And basically alluding to the fact that we've talked about this and you wouldn't be my target. So I can't believe you even brought this question up. This is why if I was on one of these shows, I absolutely would not want to make relationships. Yes, it would be fun for the fans to watch these things. But if we ever break up and we both want to be on the show, it's going to be a messy, sloppy situation. And it's like being in the game mentally is mainly the thing that wins people the game. And then once you get personal and you bring like personal relationship drama in there, I feel like it takes your mind out of the game to be able to be at full capacity like you need to be. The only person that's good at dealing with that kind of stuff is Johnny Bananas, because for whatever reason, he could bring 1X, 10 X's. He could work with an X. He could have an X on his team. It doesn't matter. That man somehow is able to just wade through all the drama and win anyways. But anyone else, it's a mind F. That's what I'm going to say about that. So later on, I'm glad for this. When they were out of that scene, Tori actually apologized to Jordan for bringing that up in front of the group and putting him on blast like that. You know, he forgave her for that. We're moving on. Morning, Lisa. Yeah, that was an emotional moment. That was definitely an emotional moment where she was thinking more about her and him situation versus the game itself. So everyone ends up picking Horacio as the guy to be going in. And I'm like, I mean, okay, there's two sides of the coin. I would have picked Jordan personally because I think that you want to guarantee that Jordan goes in. But then again, you're leaving it up to chance who Jordan goes against. Jordan could have gone against Kenny, or Jordan could have gone against Devin. But either way, I still think that you want to take a shot at him because you want him out. And I mean, I know Jordan is a prime competitor and he likely could have won against anybody, but I think your best bet is actually throwing him in. But anyways, they choose Horacio, and I guess their logic is that Horacio stands a great chance of beating anyone they throw him in against, and they want him to go against anyone but Kenny. But of course, Devin picks the safe dagger first try. And then he gets a choice. He was just like, oh, you know, to go, I have a chance to fulfill my reputation as a snake or whatever he said. But I was like, I know for sure he's going to pick Jordan. And the reason why he's going to pick Jordan is because his pick, to me, is an easy pick because it's based on, I want to run the final with the strongest competitors available. And the strongest competitor available to him on that team is Jordan. And Jordan's one of the strongest competitors in the house. No brainer. Kenny's going in. So it's the matchup that Kenny wanted anyways, but it's the worst case scenario of what the other team wanted because they're like, most likely he's going to just beat Kenny. And now we're going to have a strong team in terms of two strong physical competitors and a strong mental competitor. Horacio and Jordan are two people that you don't want to see those two on one team in a final. That's scary to me. That is very scary to me. And then Devin, he's not as bad as people act like he is in terms of the physical part, and he's top notch in terms of the mental part. So that's a very strong trio of guys to have left. So they made it look really dramatic in terms of how close it was. Bananas was trying to help Kenny for whatever reason. Well, I guess because he's trying to get Horacio out of there, which is funny because he's helped the team of Horacio and Olivia on all the other ones. But Johnny's doing whatever is in his best interest. I'm sure he doesn't want to see Horacio in a final. And look, Horacio knocked him off of the platform. He has strength on him, but Horacio is crafty and strong and fast and endurance. I don't think they really want to see Horacio in a final. So helping him, I said this in earlier recaps, helping him in all these eliminations has not necessarily been in their best interest. But we'll see how everything plays out. So they made it look close with the edit. It might have been a little bit close, but once I saw that he had a 3-bolt lead on that final wall against Kenny, I was like, there's no way that Kenny's going to overcome being down 3 bolts, especially when this dude is a carpenter. This dude, Horacio, is a freaking carpenter and a soccer player. So it's just like, come on. They picked this guy. This was a good pick for them to put on this show, and I hope that he keeps coming back. So Horacio wins. Horacio is the current, to me, elimination king. I feel like he doesn't have enough individual wins for me to put him in like Wes category, like Wes early on. But he's getting there because he goes in like almost every time and he wins in pretty dominant fashion. That guy is good. Cam is in Killer Cam. Killer Cam, yes. It was kind of like a Killer Cam campaign, but I put Cam above him only because of the fact that she ran her mouth so much. She basically asked to go into a limb over and over. She took out a mercenary and she took out like multiple vets, and she was a very unlikely finals competitor in her first season. She didn't have alliances, nothing, and she just kept talking. You don't want to see me in there. She went at Kara. You know, she took out Tori. Like, the only Wes and Cam's initial campaigns were 2 of the most impressive that I've seen. But Horacio is right up there. Poor Kenny. They tried to. I feel like that was honestly editing and production. I really do. I feel like the cinematic look and making it look like it was down to the wire. I don't think that that's the truth. I think that he probably still had at least a good 5 minutes or so to get there after Horacio finished. I think that Horacio finished that thing quite fast. So that's the end. And TJ said to Kenny, I think he said something like, "You're the nicest guy, or one of the nicest guys that has ever been on the show," which was a nice compliment, probably true. He looks very nice. But he was even this episode, which featured him so much, it was not that interesting to me. But I can't say that he's not a nice guy. When he left, TJ was like, "I couldn't say this in front of Kenny because he's so nice, but Horacio is a killer." And we know that TJ has hella respect for this guy, Horacio. Hella respect for him. Because he's just knocking him down. He's doing so well in all the dailies. He's doing so well in these elims. Like, Horacio is a force to be reckoned with. And finally, I'm somebody who loves my vets, but we finally have somebody who I'm excited to see after some of my vets retire. I would love to see Horacio go on a 10-year run and like carry this franchise. And I also like Johnny, the other Johnny. I would like to see him come back as well. Even though I don't like him on the show, but I like him on the show, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So it's done. And what we get to next is an emotional scene. It was kind of sad, to be honest with you, That's the most emotion that I've ever seen out of Casey, like ever. When she went down to hug his brother and told him, "I love you, thank you for coming on here with me," and all that. They had their moment, they had their hug, and then Kenny leaves, and then when everybody leaves, it's really cinematic, like movie-like. The cameras are just panning around to the empty field, and then we all thought that it was mercenaries when we saw the preview, but we find out it's actually Kenny coming back, and he's saying it's. And then TJ said it's a ride or die season, so that means as long as you're ride or die, Casey stays in the game. You have a chance to come back in the game. So at this point, I don't know what's happening, but I'm wondering to myself if they have like a redemption house, if other people who have lost are still around, and they might have like a play-in tournament type thing like they've had before, where the winner of that tournament gets to come back and compete towards the final or at the final. There's so many different possibilities here, but I like the fact that the season has provided so much intrigue, so much variables, and so much new elements to it. And I'm excited to see how exactly this is going to play out. It's been another great episode. I'm loving this season, and I'm waiting to see how everything is going to play out. I think so too. Even funnier is Horacio's like, I'm in construction, so then cut to Kenny. So I watch all of Wes's recaps on his Patreon, and he talks about how production gives us these like funny jokes. Like they'll place things like that together on purpose, and it's magic. I thought that was really good too. So yes, I'm excited to see how this season plays out, and we'll see how things go with this twist with Kenny. And yeah, I'm excited to see how things go. In terms of where we are now with the whole team scenario, I was hoping that the losing team picked somebody to go against the winning team, but with the losing team going against somebody else in their team, it's looking rough for Mariah's team. I will say that right out. I hope there's some kind of trades that are a possibility, or they break them up at the end or something, because otherwise we could get some final where Fessy's team wins in dominant fashion, where it's not even entertaining. So that's the one thing that I'm hoping for, but we'll see what happens. I'm sure that TJ and production has some tricks up their sleeve, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. All right, have a great one, everyone. Take care.